All right, welcome back to the Fantasy Labs podcast. This is Brian. It's Sunday night, so we're going to go over the Monday slate. I'm here with Justin Fan. Justin, what up, man?
What's going on, man? Awful week of football.
It's terrible.
Chalk Handrick was supposed to be the chalk, not so much,
Not
and
so much.
Devontae Freeman. Story of my week. So
Yep.
looking excited to put that past me and and, and talk some hoops.
And move to the better sport.
Let's be real.
I wanted to tweet this out earlier, but I felt like I would alienate some of my followers. But this is like a hoops podcast. The people here,
Oh yeah,
we're family, so I can say this. I wanted to tweet out, be like, if your favorite DFS sport is NFL, I just don't like you. There's something wrong with you if that's the case.
yeah. You apparently just like flipping coins.
It's
It's
just
like
so random, yeah. It makes no sense. Doug Martin's not a good football player, and he had 900 yards.
Yeah, and Blaine Gabbert looked pretty good today, like 100+ passer rating. I think he was like the first Niner to have a 100+ passer rating in Seattle since like 2007 or something. So yeah, it's been a banner day for football.
Sucks. So yeah, let's just move on to hoops because hoops is better. So we're gonna go over the slate. Tomorrow's slate, Monday, is 7 games, so it's not too bad. And I know I'm probably going to get some questions about this. So we're still planning on doing pods for this week, even though it's Thanksgiving. So we'll keep the content rolling out to you guys, and we'll do our best. So you can look forward to those and win some money on Thanksgiving maybe. So let's go over this slate. So we'll start with the first game that I have here is the Magic at the Cavs. And I have the over-under at 196 right now, and the Cavs are 9-point favorites. So let's start with Orlando's side. Any of these guys stick out to you, Justin?
So Magic implied last I checked was 93 points, somewhere around there, and that's the lowest implied point total on the slate by like a significant margin.
Yeah.
You have, I mean, there's some intrigue here because the starters are playing a lot of minutes, really, and guys like Evan Fournier, Tobias Harris. Alfred Payton too, with C.J. Watson already ruled out, so those three are going to play a decent amount of minutes. But I don't know, with this over under, I think there are probably better spots to get your money in. Though I do think Tobias Harris at 6,300, Fournier at 6,800, both on DK. Fournier's at 5,900 on FanDuel. Those are kind of the two guys I'm eyeing here on Orlando.
Yeah, I think those guys are definitely fair. I don't know. Yeah, they've been struggling lately, but you're right. Some of these guys are getting super high minutes. I like the two guys you named. I'm also kind of okay with Peyton in the tournament. I mean, he's getting 50 minutes a game, and he's going up maybe against Delhi.
Yeah, the thing is, though, he's been getting priced up because if you've noticed, the last maybe 3 or 4 Magic games, he's probably been my the top 3 player in my model because he's just been grossly underpriced. He's been under 6K for a while now, and he's up at 6,200 for the first time. So I think that's kind of breaking even. Plus, I've seen his production kind of go down to it. He didn't hit value. He didn't hit the projection that we had last game. So, you're right that I do like the matchup against Delhi. CJ Watson being ruled out helps, but Oladipo being back and working his way back to more minutes, the fuller minutes from his concussion, kind of takes me off him a little bit. And then you got Shabazz playing a little bit too off the bench.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. Yeah, so maybe not super on Peyton. I guess in tournament you could really go with any of these guys if you want to be contrarian. I would assume that probably Orlando would be a contrarian play tomorrow because of their implied.
Right.
But yeah, Tobias at 63 seems pretty reasonable. He had 44 fantasy points, and he's getting. I was wondering exactly how minutes would break down because they had Aaron Gordon, who I thought was going to get a ton of minutes this year. As well as Mario, who is coming in. So to see Tobias, get close to 40 minutes a game is interesting to me.
It is, and I don't think any of these guys are strong cash plays, but if you had to pick cash plays, it would be Tobias at 6,300 on DraftKings, and then Evan Fournier at 5,900 on FanDuel. I think those are probably the best bargains from this team.
Agreed. Cool. So let's go to the other side. The Cavs. We got LeBron at 10-1 on DraftKings, which is pretty pricey. Let's see where he's in comparison to the other guys. 10-1. So he is only below Boogie and Westbrook. So are you paying up for LeBron?
I don't think he's probably not up on my cash playlist. I think this is the fine spot. I think he'll be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are other cash game plays on the slate that I like more, like Boogie. I'd rather pay up for Boogie than LeBron. So news and notes here: Mo Williams doubtful for Monday with that right ankle inflammation. He missed their last game, and obviously Timothy Mozgov still out. So the people of interest here are still Dellavedova and Tristan Thompson. So Thompson showed out, his start last game when Mozzie was out and ended up close to 40 DraftKings points. There was some talk that they might start Verjao to kind of keep Tristan in that 6-man role off the bench, but they gave him the start right away, and he gave them no reason to really alter course. So I think Tristan 5,300 on DraftKings, 5,600 on FanDuel is a pretty easy call here in this spot.
Yeah, if Mozgov is out, is Mozgov for sure out?
Oh yeah, he's out for a while.
Oh, he's out for a while. Okay. Yeah. Well, then in that case, Thompson is no-brainer cash play for me.
Yeah.
53 is ridiculous. And especially, he got 40 minutes against the Hawks and played really well. Against Orlando, I would assume that he would just tear them up on the boards as well. He had 16 rebounds. So I would expect more of the same. And at 53, it doesn't even – he's not a scorer, but it doesn't matter. He's probably going to hit his value just in rebounds.
Right. Yeah, there are a lot of good value plays here. I think J.R. Smith still at 4,800 on DraftKings is really good value considering the heavy minutes he's playing.
Yeah.
They really only have – they're spread a little thin. They only really have Jared Cunningham and Jeff kind of on the wing. They don't really have much wing depth. So
yeah,
I still think this is a really profitable spot for him. Not as strong because he's probably going to draw some depot, which I'm not too crazy about. But still, that's still a little underpriced there at 4,800 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not really in love with the spot for the Cleveland guards. JR's been getting huge minutes. He got 51 minutes in that Milwaukee game last week.
Yeah, it's an overtime game, obviously.
Yeah, and he's got 36, 39, 38 since then and hasn't cracked 30 DraftKings points. That's actually kind of incredible that he's just so dependent on scoring. He's literally doing nothing else.
Right.
And so, unless you're really thinking that he's going to go off for 30 points, it's hard to really make – it's probably a fair price, but it's hard to make the claim that he's worth it really in either contest. And Dellavedova is just kind of the same thing for me. There's not a lot of upside, and the floor is not necessarily great, even with the minutes, because of Peyton and Depot. Yeah,
Delly only played, I think, 27 minutes in last game in that start. And, I agree with you there. There isn't a super high floor, even though the value there is okay at 4,500 on DK and 4,200 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
It's similar, I agree with JR, where it's probably a B minus play, but not a must cash play like Tristan is at his price.
Agreed. Yeah. And then in tournaments, there's just not a ton of upside. So I agree with their prices. I don't think I'll find myself with a lot of them in my lineups. I'll have a lot of Tristan. And I'll have some LeBron in lineups. Kevin Love at 82 before we move on. That seems still like a reasonable price.
Oh, that's very reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is a good tournament spot for him because he's going to fly under the radar, and I'm not too afraid of Tobias or whoever they're going to throw out there against him. I think he's been at 43 DK points over the last week, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's been pretty solid. So I like him kind of as a tournament player for sure.
Yeah, agreed. I think he's in a really good spot, and I think he might be a little under owned too. So I really like him as well. And I also like the idea of pairing both of them, Tristan and Love, because I'm not sure a lot of people would do that in a tournament, but I think they both have the capability of blowing up in the same game. So might be an interesting contrarian stack if you want to do. So let's move on. Next game is Kings at the Hornets. Nice. And so the over under on this game is 207. So pretty good one. And the Hornets are 5-point favorites as of now. So let's start on the Sacramento side. So yeah, so we were talking about these high price guys. So you prefer Boogie a little more than LeBron?
Oh yeah, I think Boogie's kind of a lock is a strong word, but I think he's a very good bet for 50 plus DK points at this point. Uh,
Maybe 60.
yeah, he's been averaging about 54 the last week on DK. News and notes: Rudy Gay still day to day with that left shoulder strain. I think that affects the most Omri Caspi. I think Caspi's kind of interesting for sure if Gay is out again. Rudy Gage, Jay Pearson, our boy, it's his favorite play.
He loves him.
I don't think it's even a tournament spot if he plays. Maybe, but I feel a little shaky with that coming off that shoulder injury. I don't love him coming right back into things.
Yeah, and like I'm not sure that he would get a full allotment of minutes, even if he would play it.
Yeah, maybe like a couple of minutes less, but I don't think he'd be on a hard minutes cap.
Yeah.
But I just worry about like his effectiveness with those shoulder injuries that affecting his shooting a little bit, and he's so scoring dependent that it's more relevant for him than other players. Yeah, obviously Boogie, probably my top cash game play on this. Al Jefferson allowed a 22 player efficiency rating to opposing centers last season, and the Hornets defense is actually 9.5 points worse per 100 possessions with him on the floor. So, and it says a lot when his backup is Spencer Hawes. So, I know Boogie plays a little bit more four, but I think he'll see some Al Jeff on defense for sure. This kind of shapes up, especially if Zeller's out. This shapes up to maybe where Carl goes for smaller lineups that don't feature that dual big man look in the front court and more Gay at power forward if he's healthy.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I'm not super on really any of these Sacramento players. I think Caspi is definitely really interesting at 4-7 on DraftKings if Gay is out, but even still, that's not a great matchup going against Batum. So it's not like a guy I have to have him, but Rondo. Yeah, Rondo's okay. Just one quick note about Boogie. Obviously, yeah, he's great cash, great tournament. And so the question would be, what do you do if Rudy Gay is in? And I think I actually go even heavier in tournaments because I think that would potentially lower his ownership, and I don't really think it affects him at all. So,
are you talking about Caspi?
No, I'm talking about Boogie.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think Boogie will be high owned either way.
Regardless,
yeah. I don't think there's this kind of idea that he is like reliant on Boogie or Gay being out to like bolster his value. He's been dominant with or without Rudy Gay in the lineup. So
yeah. I guess I was thinking that maybe people would think, okay, Rudy Gay is going to take some shots from him.
Yeah, I think maybe you're talking about a couple percent lower ownership which matters to an extent.
Yeah, probably not much, but yeah, worth thinking about at least. So Rondo.
Yeah, going back to Rondo, I'm fine with him actually.
At 9, oh my gosh, a 9K.
No, at 8K on FanDuel. Let me clarify. Yeah, okay. Right. 8K on FanDuel. I think he's still. Yeah. On Saturday, he was definitely our number one. Our highest bargain rating on FanDuel at 97%. I think his pricing hasn't caught up on FanDuel at all. And the Hornets are the second worst team in transition this season, allowing 1.19 points per possession to opponents. And Rondo, has scored the 9th most points in transition out of anybody, and that makes up 20% of his possession. So this is a good spot where it's like, high scoring, up tempo. Love this over under where Rondo can get out on the open court and kind of do his thing. So Rondo at 8K on FanDuel is probably one of my top 5 cash game plays of the slate.
Yeah, 8K is ridiculous. I'm okay 9K in tournaments, but definitely not cash on DraftKings. But yeah, I mean his assist numbers have been crazy, and still playing a lot of minutes even with Collison back. So I think 9K is probably appropriately priced. I don't think you're getting a ton of value, but yeah, obviously 8K is ridiculous.
9K is 40 implied on DraftKings, and he's been averaging about 48 over the last week. I think but if Gay comes back, then I think his projection is probably closer to like 43 to 44. You're still getting some value there, I think, but nothing to where it's like a slam dunk cash game play at 9K.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. Charlotte side. So it looks like Batum's at 7-2, and Kemba's at 6'9", Al Jefferson's at 6'4", kind of going on. Any of these guys interest you?
You want a piece of the Hornets because they're the highest implied point total of the 6 games that we have totals for so far. They're implied at 106. So
the question is, where do you want it?
Yeah, and I think it's been fairly clear where the usage has been going lately. I think we'll get to him later. PJ Hairston, I think his availability will change things up a little bit for the bench guys with Lamb and Lynn.
Yeah.
But I think the usage has been going pretty clearly to Kemba and Al Jefferson.
Yeah.
And those who have funneled possessions. And I like the spot for both of them. I think they're both under 7K on DraftKings. Get a little bit more dice here on FanDuel where they're 7,500 at 7,300. But on DraftKings for sure, they're really underpriced, and I think you want pieces of both in cash games. Batum, I think, is more of a tournament profile play for me. He's been up and down. His usage has kind of fluctuated. He started out slow. He had a stretch where he was averaging, I think, like close to 20 field goal attempts for 36. And he's back on like kind of a downswing right now. Yeah. So he's more volatile to me to where I prefer him in tournaments.
Agreed. And I think he's just that type of guy where there's some guys who their shot's not going down and they're shooters, so they just shoot themselves out of it. But Batum has always been kind of like one of those selfless guys that, he'll like, okay, my shot's not going down, so I'm going to work on like rebounding and setting other guys up, which is a great basketball player to have, but not super interesting when he's in a slump in fantasy. And I think he's kind of slumping with his shot right now. So I think you can kind of look elsewhere. But obviously that's good for if you want to get Kemba and Al Jefferson in, because at 6'9", 6'4", at their usage rates lately, I think they're obviously very good plays. I'm not super interested in these on these other guys. Lamb at 4.5, Lynn at 4.5 as well. So I'll ask you, Lamb or JR because they're the same price, right?
Oh, I think if Hairston, well, I would go JR regardless.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's particularly close. I am interested in Lynn if PJ Hairston plays. And Lynn can come off the bench in a six-man role where he gets a lot more usage than he does as a starter. So,
and against second units.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So even though his haircut is atrocious and and just makes watching him painful on the eyes.
Were you not a Dragon Ball Z fan, Justin?
I am not. Sorry.
Oh, man. All right. I don't know what you grew up watching over there.
I grew up watching sports. I didn't watch. Yeah, that's what I grew up watching.
All right.
But like, that's something I pointed out, before lock on Saturday when Lynn was declared a starter. I think people were like, oh, Lynn's a starter, so let me throw him in cash games now. But, I think certain guys obviously are a lot better suited coming off the bench, where they can take a lot more shots. We kind of saw this with Avery Bradley recently. He erupted he erupted on Sunday, but like before that, he was playing off the bench and taking like 17, 18 shots for 36. So there is definitely some benefits to that. So yeah, Lynn. If I'm interested in Lynn if Harrison plays.
Tourney only though, right?
Tourney only. Yeah, I think he's dicey, kind of dicey in cash.
Yeah, agreed. And that's it. Other than Frank and cash, right?
Yeah. You try to sneak that in there, huh? Let me ask you, are you worried at all about – so we talked about Jefferson, obviously. 6,400 is like really good price for him.
Yeah.
Are you worried at all about potential foul trouble here with guarding Boogie?
Huh. Yeah, I am. That's a good point. I'm pretty much worried about every player when they're going against Boogie. I mean, we saw it was a couple of weeks ago now, but I'm not sure if it was you and me or it was me and Jay, but we talked about whether we were worried about Drummond.
It was Jay who pointed that out. Yeah.
Yeah. And Drummond's obviously miles better defender than Big Al. So yeah, I would say that I'm probably worried just about every center against Boogie. He's just that good.
To be fair, Al Jefferson will just like let Boogie score rather than Drummond, who actually will try to contest it. I guess that's I don't know. I'm just trying to needle Jefferson here, but
yeah, no, that's fair. No, it is a good point though. I am always kind of worried about the opposing center when Boogie's playing.
Yeah, so maybe that makes Batum an even more intriguing tournament option if Jefferson's off the floor and he has to pick up more of the offensive usage.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. So a Cousins Batum stack in a tournament correlation.
Yeah, I kind of like. I mean, you've written stuff about this where like you kind of have to make assumptions, where it's like I don't know if you term it like a ladder, but like
ladder,
yeah, you kind of like make one assumption and then other assumptions kind of follow off of that first one. So yeah, I mean, thought correlation if you want to if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, I think it's potential. Yeah, if you assume that Cousins is going to have a big game, which he might have it regardless of foul trouble, but if you assume that he's going to have a big game kind of at the expense of Jefferson, then yeah, might be an interesting stack, especially because of the implied points. But cool. Let's move on. Next game is the Knicks at the Heat, and it looks like the implied is 191.5. Ouch. And the Heat are 5-point favorites. Okay. Well, that's not a great line.
It's Eastern Conference basketball, baby.
All right. Yeah, so now that I'm not really sure if I'm on it, really, any of these guys, to be honest. Other than Zingas, who you always have to be on.
Yeah, okay, we'll start with him. I think you would kind of have to. He's like definitely the most interesting player on this team. Do you Porzingis and chill or?
Yeah, definitely. Porzingis and chill, love it.
His last 5 DK point totals 21, 20, 47, 19, 60. So like within a 5-game stretch, he's shown a floor of 19 and a ceiling of 60.
Just a perfect tournament player.
Yeah, he's still 6,700 on draft, and even better, 6,300 on FanDuel. 6,300 on FanDuel has like an implied of, let's see, about 24 points on FanDuel. And I think at 24 is an awfully that's pretty reasonable for Zingas. I think Zingas at 6,300 on FanDuel is super strong, especially when they require you play, 2 power forwards too. So I'm all about, we talk about, Zingas having a lot of volatility and being probably more fit for tourney play. But if you're giving me at 6,300 on FanDuel, I'm all about that in cash.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah, on FanDuel, I'm definitely finding cash. But I love tournaments. Obviously, he's a great tournament player, and I really like the idea. Don't use this because I would like to use it in tournaments, but just like locking in Tristan and Zingas in like 5 tournament lineups, and then just kind of rotating these studs in alongside of them and hoping one of those lineups hit. So I definitely think that's viable. Okay, so we love Zingas, obviously. Any of the other New York guys interest you? I mean, Melo. I guess is always kind of a tournament play as well, but I don't know. I'm just not super on his ceiling this year, really.
Yeah, and this is also not a good spot for the Knicks. To the second lowest implied total at 93 of the games we have. So I don't think you want to be heavily invested in this game. Yeah, and obviously, no, 24. Yeah, he's averaging about 24 DK points for last week, which is
Value.
yeah, this value.
But it's sketchy in this matchup for me.
Let me see. He's at 4,400, which is an implied of about 19 points. Yeah, I think you can get some value, like 2 or 3 DraftKings points above expectation, which is fine.
But he's in that 44 range where JR is just one more, or Lynn potentially just
Right.
$100 more. So yeah.
Plus the other guys, JR and Lynn, they don't have the minutes downside that you have in this Knicks rotation, which is just like super volatile from game to game outside of Melo. Even Zingis, his minutes are really up and down too. So yeah, I mean, I haven't quite gone through the shooting guard position yet on DK, but if it's like super shallow, then maybe you can consider it. But
yeah,
I don't see myself getting to a point where I'm looking at a Flalo in cash, or obviously tournaments. He doesn't have that ceiling.
Yeah, I'm not on any Nick other than Porzingis.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay, Heat. So obviously, a guy we should talk about is Whiteside, just because there's always like a slate every couple of days or maybe just a week where you get all these like super crazy centers in one slate. So you got Drummond, Whiteside, Monroe, Towns, Vooch, Gobert, Al Jefferson, all right here in the slate. So it's just like, where do you go? So then, you really have to try to break down matchups. Hassan Whiteside seems to be in a pretty good matchup here, right?
Oh, I love this spot for Whiteside. I think this is a great spot for him where it's an ugly game. You're expecting the Knicks to miss a ton of shots. He's going to inhale rebounds. And, I mean, he's been averaging 44 DK points, and he's still at 44 over the last week. So he's still at 84. I think that's perfectly reasonable. I think it's a very strong cash play on both DK and FanDuel. FanDuel is at 85. I'm good with him in both. I think this is a really good spot for him.
Agreed. Yeah, so the other guys that are interesting to me personally, I think Bosch is okay. I'm not probably going Kim and Cash just because I like some of the other power forward values. That's just kind of slate specific. I think if you want to go him, that's fine. Maybe I'm a little worried about the Porzingis matchup. He had like 100 blocks the other night. But I'm really interested in a D Wade here actually at 6'8".
Yeah, I agree. He's been playing really well lately, and he's probably more tournament for me than Cash. Just because you get some volatility there, and I'm not super confident about his floor from game to game. But I think he's very reasonably priced at 68 on DraftKings. 73 on FanDuel is a lot more dicey. It's probably closer to his break even, to where I'm not too interested in him there.
Agreed. That's it for me. On this game.
I mean, Dragic has really struggled to acclimate to this offense. You don't like Luol Deng. With everybody healthy, I'm not on Justice Winslow really anymore. Not on Tyler Johnson really anymore.
Yeah.
So
if a guy was out, sure, but they're kind of at full strength. Dragic is just frustrating because this is such a good spot for him. He just hasn't. And at 5'2", like if we could have gotten him against this Knicks team like 2 years ago when he was destroying it in Phoenix, like it would be ridiculous, but obviously just not the same type of guy right now.
Yeah, and I think, at 52, I don't mind tournament exposure. The thing is, like, I really question his ceiling because I just haven't seen it this season so far, to where I want to see it first, where I actually, can rationalize it. Like, okay, this is like an actually like attainable ceiling for him if things break right. I haven't seen it, so it makes me hesitant to be strong for him in tournaments, even at his really reasonable price point.
Yeah, he doesn't have upside for me. And in a slate where you have you know, a bunch of good point guards. I mean, you got Russ up at the top, obviously, Rondo, Knight, Jackson, all these guys, or even Rubio and Kemba. They've all gone for like 50 fantasy points lately. So you just can't take a 10-point dud from a Dragic, even at his price, or you're out of it in tournaments. So,
Right.
yeah, not super interested in that. Okay, so let's move on. Next game is Pistons at the Bucks. And the line here is, God, man, these lines are so low. I guess it's just a lot of Eastern Conference basketball.
Yeah.
191, and Detroit is 2-point favorites. And all right, so start on Detroit side. Drummond at 9-7 and Reggie at 7-6. Those are always kind of the most interesting Detroit guys. How do you feel about them?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm fine with both.
In cash for either, really, though?
I'm always more willing to pay for Drummond in cash than Reggie.
Yeah.
Will I pay for Drummond at 97 on Monday slate? Probably not. 600 more for Boogie.
Yeah.
And I'd rather actually probably have like Whiteside at 1,300 less as well.
Yeah.
Whiteside's actually been better than Drummond recently anyway. So, yeah. I think Reggie, he's a pretty good bargain at 76 on DK. I think that's a very 78 on a FanDuel. I'm good with that too. I think that's a good price point.
Yeah, I'm fine with Reggie and cash, to be honest. I think 7-6 is really reasonable. And if you look kind of the guys above him, he's kind of the best guy. Kemba, obviously at 6'9", we like, so that would probably be my cash guy if I went one. But I mean, Russ is going against Gobert, so I mean, not that I'm ever really scared of Russ, but 12-3 against Gobert makes me at least think about it. Rondo is obviously at 9 on DraftKings, and Brandon Knight is going against the Spurs. So, you know, the next guy up is 76, Reggie. So, and he's been playing well lately. So I'm not super scared of the matchup. And at 7-6, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, they do have some length though to bother him. That's what I worry about. I can imagine Reggie getting the usage and then putting up, I don't know, like a 5 for 19 type shooting performance where he doesn't quite crush value like you're kind of hoping. Yeah, I think it's fine though. Given like you broke down the composition of the position, and I think given the composition of point guard on DK Monday, it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess Reggie, I don't know. The matchup isn't super scary to me. MCW, Michael Carter-Williams, ever since he's gotten back from this ankle injury and been kind of working himself back, he hasn't really been good defensively from what I've seen. I didn't wall torch him the other night. I mean, obviously, like this John Wall.
Yeah, he tends to do that to everybody.
Yeah, but he just looked a step slow. So, I mean, if they switch, I guess you could still be worried about Red Jackson. Switch the pick and roll, obviously, but or switch screens or whatever. But I'm not really super worried about the length of Carter Williams just because I think Reggie Jackson's got a couple steps on him with that injury. But
sure.
Just me. Any of these lower guys, Morris, KCP, any of these guys interest you for Detroit?
I'm
an M, maybe Morris.
Yeah, maybe Morris at 62 on both DK and FanDuel. I think that's okay. Just because he's getting so much run that it's a decent floor.
Yeah.
But I don't love him going up against the likes of like Giannis and Middleton on the wing. I don't really like that at all. So yeah. He's probably like a C+ play to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I am too. And I'm not super interested in KCP. I mean, like, if you really want to get cute in a tournament, Ilyasova, but I mean, we're talking Tristan just a little bit more. So at power forward, can't see myself going that.
Yeah, Ilyasova, his minutes are so up and down.
Yeah.
He's a guy that I struggle nailing his value from game to game just because he fluctuates so much. Like over the last 5 games, he's had a floor of 14 points and a ceiling of 35.
Yeah.
So I think he is like tournament viable for sure at 4,300 and 4,300 on DK and 45 on FanDuel. I think you can look at him for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's fine, but I think the slate is probably not going to put me on him.
Sure.
Milwaukee side, Monroe at 7-2, obviously revenge game here.
Yeah. I mean, he's been down though, like the last recently.
I know.
He hasn't been putting up those like 20 and 10 lines that we were accustomed to early on.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, his scoring's been down a lot.
I haven't looked this up, but I suspect the on off with Jabari isn't too kind to him.
That's probably true. Yeah, I don't know. Why did he get only 24 minutes the other night against Indy?
I think that was the night. Was not the night that Henson got a lot of run off the bench.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
so.
I think you're right. Yeah. So obviously not Cash right now, especially in the matchup against Drummond, and even maybe tournaments. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Monroe. I'm probably off of him if I have to make a gun to my head decision.
Yeah, 7,200 Monroe. I mean, you want your exposure if you're gonna get exposure on DraftKings because he's 72 on DK versus 77 on FanDuel. So 72 on DK implies about 32, and you kind of need him to hit like 38 on DK for it to be like a good tournament play. And against Drummond, I kind of question whether that's realistic.
That's possible, yeah. The only reason that I even am considering him, I mean, obviously I don't like that matchup at all. Not Cash, but the only reason I'm considering it slightly is because he's 72 and Karl Towns is 72 as well against Philly. So I think that Monroe may have just a couple % ownership,
Right.
And so you could talk me into it just because of the ownership argument, but obviously Towns, which we'll talk about him in a second, at 7-2 against Philly is tasty. Okay, so other guys on Milwaukee, are you interested in Giannis or Middleton maybe? No MCW for me, but I think I said that earlier.
Yeah, I like Giannis in tourneys. I think Giannis is great in tourneys. Just all around potential, and it's still reasonably at 71 on DK and 7K on FanDuel. A little bit too volatile for me to feel too confident for him cash, but I like Giannis a lot in tourneys.
You okay with Jabari at all? He's the only guy that's maybe for me.
No, I think the last couple of games you've kind of seen him around 20, 22 DraftKings points consistently, even with getting 30 minutes a game. I don't think right now in the condition he's in that he can really crush value beyond that.
That's fair.
I think he's kind of his range of outcomes right now, to me at least, is fairly narrow.
Agreed. That's fair. God, man, the Bucks just suck at fantasy.
Yeah, they were too deep for their own good. They play too many players.
I'm just looking at all these guys, and they're all kind of tournament plays, but even not really.
No, they're not really though, because their minutes aren't. They don't have minutes upside, right? Their rotations, like I said, too deep. Guys
Vasquez,
in there, Vasquez, our boy Johnny O'Brien, Jay's boy Johnny O'Brien, John Henson. They have a lot of bodies to where if a guy's struggling on a particular night, then Keith isn't afraid to go with a different look. So
yeah, you're right. They're too deep. Not really interested in any of these guys, to be honest. Okay, let's keep on moving. Philly at the Timberwolves. Let's see if we got a line here. Yep, 198, and Minnesota is 7-point favorites. Philly's obviously looking for their first win of the season, and I do not think they're going to get it tomorrow night. So let's talk about their side first, and maybe some of these guys can go off and be some tournament interesting guys. So Okafor is at 6'7", Nerlens is at 6'1", McConnell is still in that 5K range. I mean, kind of for you still?
Yeah. First of all, I don't know what the heck Brett Brown's doing with this lineup. He benched Nerlens 2 games ago, and then he switched it up like 3 times before tip off the last game. I think he was saying he's going to start Nerlens. Lineup came out with Nerlens off the bench, and then like last minute he decided to start Nerlens. I have no idea what the heck's going on.
I love that people were getting so mad at you on Twitter because they were like, "What is it?" And you're like, "I don't know." Ask Brown.
It's so tilting because like people are just killing the messenger here. I'm just like, I'm as pissed off as you guys are. I'm having to sit there change the projections
like 4 times.
Yeah, just because there's one tweet that I'm seeing or one beat reporter says one thing and it's just extra work, and I don't like it either, guys. But
maybe Brett Brown's just screwing with you. He's like that Justin. He's gonna have to update his projections every time I mutter a word.
it's like it matters. Still gonna get killed anyway.
Good point.
But Ja here, I think I don't love the matchup against Towns, obviously. But at 6,400 on FanDuel, I think that's really reasonable to where I would definitely consider him in cash at that price. I mean, you have any other thoughts on Ja beyond that?
I know. I think he's underpriced. I just don't like the matchup. So I'm okay with him in cash, and I'm okay with him in tournaments. But if we're putting on him, he's more expensive than Gobert, and he's more expensive than Jefferson too. So I like Jefferson better in cash, and I like Gobert better in tournaments. So I just don't see myself with a whole lot of him, but I don't hate him. I'll have some exposure to him. He's just not my favorite play. He's a B play.
Why is Gobert your preferred in tournament? I'm curious. Is that because of perceived ownership or value?
I always think he's a higher ceiling.
I question. I will disagree there. I'm wondering about Gobert's ceiling because his defensive rates have really fallen back down to earth so far this season, and I question whether he actually has that ceiling. I think Ja has 45 point potential on DraftKings. Yeah, I mean it just was a couple of games ago that I think 4 games ago he averaged 40 against and 44.
Yeah. You're right.
I do like the idea of Nerlens starting for Ja better than Covington because I know we talked earlier about we loved Okafor when Nerlens was out. That's true because his alternative was Rashawn Holmes or whoever they were trying out. But in this either or situation where it's Nerlens or Covington, I'd rather have Nerlens because Covington is a lot more usage heavy and he'll take more shots than Nerlens. So I think if Nerlens starts again on Monday, then I'm more willing to jump on board and get behind Ja and tourneys. I'd actually rather have him in tourneys than Gobert.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. So are you interested in any of these other Philly guys? I mean, Nerlens. Nerlens is kind of the same way for Gobert for me. I'm just not sure about the point you're making about Gobert is I'm worried about the ceiling.
Yeah. Covington at 4,400 on DraftKings seems very reasonable to me, especially because we've seen that he's kind of getting back to full minutes in recent games. So I'm intrigued by Covington definitely at 4,400. I think that's a cash consideration. The bar is really low. I think he only has to clear 18 DK points to hit value. And I think if you give Covington 28 to 30 minutes, I think that's fairly easy for him to do.
Yeah, I'm fine with him in cash. Especially, I just was worried that he was going to get 30 minutes. But if you seem confident in that, then I'm okay with that play. I mean, last game was the first game that he got 30 minutes.
Yeah, but he's been ramping up
Okay.
coming off that injury. So, he's been playing, I think, like 22, 27, 22 for a while. Then, like, I think he played like 27, 26 2 games ago, and then 30. I mean, he's kind of been ramping up recently.
He got so his last several games, starting on the 2nd of November, 22, 20, 23, 23, and then jumped up to 32. So that was my hesitation. It was just kind of a
Yeah.
jump. So,
And that was off the bench, too. So,
okay, gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. So I'm fine with that play. Okay. So Timberwolves side, I think I kind of hinted earlier. Towns 7-2 against Philly is tasty, right?
Oh, yeah. Especially with Bielitsa. He's technically questionable right now, but he's probably closer to doubtful because he didn't even practice on Sunday. So that's even more a little bit more playing time for Karl Anthony Towns on the front court. So yeah, all about Towns at his price.
It doesn't even matter to me whether Bielitsa plays.
Oh
He's
yeah, that's just the
he's
cherry on top.
yeah, he's just yeah. You're right. That's fair. Well, he's no brainer cash tournament. Whatever you want to play him, you can start your lineup with him and be fun. So I guess we can talk about the other guys. Rubio at 7-1 is fairly interesting to me. I don't think I would go him in cash, even with the matchup. But obviously a good tournament play here.
Yeah, I think he's okay in cash to me at that price. I think this is a this is a spot where I think he can maybe push for like 12 to 14 assists. I think that might be the profile of this game. Especially, I think one thing we want to talk about too is that they're going to change their starting lineup on Monday, and Kevin Martin's going to slide into the starting lineup in place of
So
Tayshaun Prince, who's been starting for
oh yeah. Oh, for
no
okay,
yeah for Tayshaun Prince.
gotcha.
So okay, ripple effect is that that's obviously a lot more usage in there in that first unit
Yeah,
with Kevin Martin there in place of Tayshaun. It it makes me come off Wiggins in
yeah,
cash and tourneys.
yeah,
It doesn't really concern me too much about Karl Anthony Towns. I think he's still fine at 72.
yeah,
And Rubio, I think there's going to be a lot of good assist opportunities for him in this one with
yeah. He's not. Yeah,
Wiggins cutting back door. I think Towns, popping. I think there's a lot of
right.
good tasty options here for Rubio with the assists.
Yeah, and you're not Rubio. You're not worried about usage at all
Oh no,
because his value is all like he could triple double.
yeah, assist and steals, and then 10 points or so, 10 to 12.
That's fine. Yeah. That's a good point about Wiggins, though. Yeah, cash. I'm not super on him. Yeah, I guess maybe I don't know. I could see a big Wiggins game here against a really bad team, though. I guess the Martin thing would be worrisome, but I don't know. I'm still okay in tournaments. So are you? So Martin at 39.
Yeah, I think we'll kind of see a Jeremy Lin type situation here where a lot of people will jump on him a little bit too hard. And well, on the one hand, he actually like is on radars now because he was playing so few minutes before. I think he was like in like the 22 to 24 minute range for a little bit, like barely playing because Levine was playing a lot more alongside Rubio. So Martin was playing less. But like at 39, yeah, I think that's a very
It's hard not.
it's
Yeah,
a very low bar for him to clear. I question his upside,
yeah,
but I think he's like a very good bet to hit value.
yeah. Agreed. Yeah, 39 is definitely. It's hard not to evaluate at that point. So if Bielitsa is out, then does that bump any front court guys other than Towns up for you?
Yeah, I like Gorgie Jang last game, but he didn't really come through. He didn't play enough.
Not playing a ton. Yeah. So do you? So I guess are they comfortable enough playing Towns at power forward to give Jang minutes? Because that was the worry to me, and he just it looked like they didn't really trust that.
Yeah, Maybe they have to rethink that with playing against Nerlens and Jaw at the same time.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll see a little bit more of a dual front court look.
yeah.
But more likely we'll just see kind of like Adrian Payne
Hmm.
slide in and take a good chunk of Bielitsa's minutes, and then Jang doesn't see enough to where I'm going to be super on him even at 36 on DK.
Agreed. Yeah, but unfortunately, I think Jang's really the only interesting guy if he gets minutes. Because Payne could get 20 minutes and put up
Yeah.
like a 7 DK points. So, uh,
I'll add a tournament play here.
okay.
I don't think anybody is going to be on him. Um, I'll add Levine in the mix at 4,700.
Hmm.
And this is coming off the thought that Kevin Martin's going to be in that first unit and Tayshaun Prince is coming to that second unit. And this is just thinking that
Yeah,
Levine is going to just get so much more usage with that second unit now.
the Lin
And
effect.
yeah, exactly. And his minutes have been really safe, like the
Yeah,
last couple of games, even with Rubio back and playing close to 30. Um, Levine has seen 26 and 30 minutes in his last two games. So I think he's still, has a decent floor, like 24, 25 minutes. And then you add the usage on top of that. And, at 4,700 on DK, I'm intrigued in tournaments.
yeah, that's definitely fair. Because you're right, his ownership is going to be non-existent, really. And if there's ever a game where he could come in off the bench and kind of just, you know, like dominate some second unit that's really bad, it's against Philly. So 4-7. Where's he at on FanDuel? Do you have that pulled up?
He's at 57 on FanDuel. So
Oh
yeah,
man,
yeah,
because I'm more interested on him in FanDuel just for the fact of at 4-7, like that's interesting, but the fact that they have like more flexibility in their lineups with guards and utilities. You can
yeah.
go one of these lower price shooting guards, so it kind of kills the potential. I don't know the value of Levine. Whereas opposed on FanDuel, where you're locked into position, you could potentially get him, um, at a better value. But at 5-7, that doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, let's move on. We got two more games left. Next one is Suns at Spurs. And we have a line here. It's 197, and Spurs are 8.5 point favorites. So let's start on Phoenix side. So in our chat with Jay, we've been all kind of been mad because Jay was saying that he can never pick the Bledsoe night games correctly, and I feel like that's just a lot of people in fantasy. It's you pick one for the night, and the other one goes off for like 900 points.
Yeah, or the other one gets hurt during the game, and
Yeah,
then
you just never know.
all mayhem ensues.
Yeah,
Yeah. So this is a not a great spot coming off a back to back against the Spurs on the
right,
road.
right.
Um, so I think it relegates like everybody on this team to just tournaments only.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I'm picking one, it's going to be Bledsoe still.
Really? Okay. I
Um,
disagree, but okay.
okay, well, I think, well, if you're going to attack a position
Yeah,
on the Spurs, it's going to be at the point. And
yeah.
I feel more comfortable with Bledsoe going off against Parker than I do Knight against Danny Green. We can toss this back and forth though.
Yeah, yeah. So my thought is twofold. One is the matchup, like you talked about. I don't. I would question that that Knight would get the tougher matchup. I feel like they would put Green on Bledsoe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. And then, but the other thing is that Knight's salary got bumped way up as it should have. But they bumped him up a lot. He was 7K, exact like 7K, just a couple of days ago, and then he got bumped to 7.5. Now he's at 8.2, so he's only $200 less. And I feel like people still think that he has a lot more or a lot less upside than Bledsoe, who's only $200 more. So I think that his ownership would be a lot less than Bledsoe. And So that's intriguing. And I honestly have no clue about the matchup. You may be right that he gets the Danny Green part of it. I just don't know.
Yeah, I think recency bias though probably leans towards Knight though.
Yeah.
If we're talking between the two,
Yeah.
so I think that kind of levels the playing field in terms of ownership, perhaps,
That's fair.
because Knight just had himself just some crazy game, like 70 DK point games.
Yeah, he's been
Um,
killing it lately. Yeah.
so
I always forget about recency bias. That's one of my flaws is when in ownership. I just I don't super care about it, but I forget that other people do. But yeah, that is a good point. That you're right. Probably people are on him a lot.
yeah, well, Bledsoe did have the better game on Sunday, so I don't know. Well, we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Markeith finally had his big game on Sunday. Went for 17 and 8 in 36 minutes. Um, uh, I
Back to back against this
tournament consideration, but I struggle to even go there because I don't even know if his minutes are going to be there. I don't know if like he's only going to see 26 minutes on Monday, and we see like a lot of like Mirza Teletovic and John Lure for some reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. We talked about the Suns. Like they're just so
tough. Yeah.
tough to predict on a game to game. Their minutes fluctuate like dramatically.
Yeah. I rarely go with anyone other than Bledsoe or Knight.
Yeah, I mean, you can get like forced into PJ Tucker occasionally if like the position's really thin.
Yeah.
He's not terrible at 3,900, but what's the upside there really?
There's not. Yeah. Agreed. I'm not really on anyone other than Bledsoe or Knight, and I'm gonna have exposure to both, even in the bad matchup, just because of how well they've been playing lately. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough matchup, especially on a back-to-back against those good defenders. So.
Well, they're gonna have to score, right? I think people like forget about this. Like they're implied for 94 points, and like when you look up and down this roster, who else is gonna score? So I think given we've talked about this, right? Like I'm not so concerned about the over under, the low total. When we're looking at a team like Phoenix, where the usage is so concentrated with certain players, and we know Knight and Bledsoe are just going to get so much of the share of shots and scoring opportunities. So this is obviously a downgrade. You don't play them in cash with confidence, but I think they're fine tournament plays just because, I mean,
they have to do something.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, and like if I was pubbing one, like obviously you like Bledsoe, I like Knight, and like I obviously I don't feel really strongly enough about it to like really put my foot down. So I would say So I would say have some exposure to both, and hopefully like because in that like one of them is going to get Tony Parker. We just don't know which one it is. Obviously you want that one, so have exposure to both. San Antonio side, we got quiet 8-2. So
Aldridge is still questionable right now with that sprained left ankle.
Yeah, so David West got the start. Have you been keeping up with that?
Yeah, so West got 24 and a half minutes in that spot start, only finished with 8 and 5 for 16 DK points. Boris Diaw only played like a little under 12 minutes, went 2 points and 2 rebounds for 6.5.
Solid. Nice.
For 6.5 DK points. So, like, I think the real implication of Aldridge potentially being out is just like being on Kawhi and Tim Duncan more than you would. I think Duncan especially is going to be a guy that's underpriced at 63 on DK and even 69 on FanDuel, and in tournaments too, low owned. So I think if Aldridge is out again with that ankle, I like Duncan in both cash and tourneys. Cash especially on DK.
Yeah, 6'3" is definitely reasonable. He got 36 minutes. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, he finished with 30. What was it? 40 and a half DraftKings points. Yeah.
I really like Kawhi and Duncan here. Manu?
Yeah, I mean, he's been really productive on a per. I mean, he's their best per minute
Yeah.
producer
Yeah.
so far this season, even above Kawhi. He's at about a little over 1.2 DraftKings points per minute.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't in cash, probably not in tournaments, probably not either, right? I think are you really
Yeah.
excited to play him at 4,300 in cash? I think that's a B minus play. I think it's
No.
fine.
Yeah, I mean, we just like. I guess it's like a theme that we've caught on is that there's a ton of shooting guards that are intriguing at right at 4.3 to 4.5. So like if I'm ranking them, he's not one or two. So
He's been crushing value though. I'll give him that for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, he's definitely been interesting. So I kind of don't hate it. I was not super on
Yeah.
it. So I guess before we move on, are you willing to throw out David West as a tournament one more
No,
time? No,
no.
give it up.
Well, we've seen with Pop. We know that he likes to kind of play these guys a little deeper. I'm not throw out kind of these West and Diaz and Bonners and Bobans like for a lot of minutes. He'll just like kind of play these guys like
Yeah,
18 to 25 minutes where none of them are going to be none of them are going to see enough time, I think, to be really reliable, even
yeah,
and give you that even a good floor for tournaments.
yeah.
I really like Kawhi though. I think this is a game where Knight and Bledsoe will turn the ball over a lot, and he'll
Mhm.
have a lot of opportunities for steals and transition opportunities too. So I think Kawhi, if Aldridge is out, I really like him at 82 on DK. I think that
Yeah.
he's a solid cash game consideration there.
That's fine. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. So we won last game. Thunder at Jazz. I don't have a line. Have you seen one at all?
No, there's no line on this. They're waiting on the status of KD.
Yeah. Okay. Is he potentially playing?
Yeah, I think he's questionable. I think he's a strong questionable too. He looked really good like in pregame warmups and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
he's about there. I think he's either this game or next game he's going to be back.
Interesting. Okay. So let's start with that. So let's talk Westbrook and Durant. Let's talk if Durant's not playing and then if he is playing. So if he's not playing Westbrook at 12-3.
I'm off it because
12-3.
Utah's about the slowest paced team in the league,
Okay.
and you got Gobert at the rim. Favors inside. I don't know. It's fine, but I'd rather get Boogie at was it 10-4, 10-3 and save the 2K.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think Boogie has just as high a ceiling at 2K less.
Yeah, maybe like 5 points less, but
Yeah,
still.
but close enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
not 2K worth a difference. But okay, so if Durant's in, are you off? So you're definitely off Westbrook at that point. But are you on Durant at all?
As a tournament play, maybe. Um, yeah, I like I said, I don't love this matchup against the Jazz. I don't know. I think I'm not on it in cash at 98. I think it's just a little bit too risky for me to see what he's like coming off a hamstring injury in his first game back.
Yeah. How do you feel? I know how you feel, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. How do you feel about Westbrook as a tournament play if Kevin Durant's in? Do you think he would
Yeah.
drop his ownership?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
But the thing is, like, you get a discount in ownership, but you don't get a discount in price. Like
true.
he's like still paying like 12-3 on DK and 11-9 on FanDuel. So your roster construction is still going to be really tricky
Yeah,
there. I like the idea though. I think like even like a Westbrook Durant stack, I wouldn't mind because those two together are going to be super low owned as well.
yeah, yeah,
I just question if this is the right spot to pull it.
yeah. I know. I wish it wasn't against Utah. Okay, yeah, that's fair. I intrigued by it, but I have similar skepticism about it because of the price. So yeah, so interesting for me. If Durant's in, then I'm off Ibaka altogether. I'm probably not super on him anyway, but for sure off of him.
Agreed.
And I'm not really on I'm not really on any OKC guys if Durant's back, other than possibly Durant and Westbrook.
Yeah, Waiters is off the
Yeah,
consideration for sure.
definitely Cantor too.
Cancer revenge game. Cancer last
Ooh.
game last game he played Utah. Um, last year he
Uh-huh.
put up 18 and 11. But I'll
Durant was out, right?
yeah, Durant was out and he was
Yeah,
starting at power forward next to Steven Adams. So very different
they should do
circumstance.
that anyway. This time. Um, yeah, I'm not interested in anyone. Okay. Jazz. Okay. Favors 7-6 on DK. And let's see, Hayward at 6-2. Gobert at 6'5". See, so all these guys are just right here. I guess you kind of said earlier that you're not really in love with Gobert. So how do you feel about the rest of them?
Hayward at 62 on DK, Hayward at 66 on FanDuel. I'm good with. I think that's
In
still
cash?
yeah. He's fine with me in cash.
Okay.
I mean, he's been averaging about 34 DK points for the last week. He's really picked up his play recently. So I think he should be priced a lot closer to Favors and Gobert, for being honest, just the talent level and what he's shown in the past.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I think you like Gobert at 65, right? That was your thing on
I do.
on tourneys.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. I've been so let down like watching Gobert and playing Gobert in DFS that I'm less enthused by it. Maybe it's just like early season bias for me, but
No, I think you're right. I agree. I've been let down too, but like, isn't that priced into him right now?
it is.
So, yeah, I mean, I definitely would go him in cash, but I mean, you are getting the discount of his suckiness.
Suckiness, yes.
Yeah. So I don't hate it. But I agree. Yeah. So Hayward 6'2", I like. Did you say whether you like favors at 7-6?
Um,
I don't like him in cash, but I maybe am okay in tournaments. He's in that weird spot where he's at 7-6 on DK, and so that puts him right in the range of yeah. Bosch is 7-7. Kevin Love's 8-2. Who I love both of those matchups to be honest.
yeah, I'd rather pay up 600 for
For Love,
Kevin Love.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, yeah, not in cash.
maybe a
I
tournament.
think maybe in tournaments, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I agree. And maybe you feel differently, but these other guys I'm not really on. Hood and Burks have been kind of interesting at times this year, but they kind of rotate whether they're interesting. And right now, they're kind of both not interesting.
Yeah, I'm fine with yeah, Hood is probably going to get some Robertson, right? I would imagine right off the
Yeah.
bat.
Yeah. So no, thanks.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. Even though he's been a lot more consistent with his minutes, which I like. I think he's been at or around or above 30 minutes, like his last couple games, which has been kind of rare for this Jazz wing guard rotation. Has been a challenge for me to nail on a game to game basis too, just because they go in and out too much. But
Yeah.
um,
And just to clarify, Robertson's a good defender. That's why we said that.
yeah, yeah.
But yes, go on. Sorry.
No, I think you named the other two guys that I think Burks. Let's see, 52 on DK and 54 on FanDuel. Not loving that price point at all. I think if you gave him to me around 45, 44, then I'd be a little peaked. But
Yeah. But what's the ceiling, really?
I think he has like a 28
Yeah.
DK point ceiling
Yeah, maybe so.
if things swing
Against Russ getting,
against waiters.
yeah, maybe. Yeah. C play for me.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
C play for sure at 52.
yeah, definitely no FanDuel at all. But yeah, at 4 you could make the argument on.
Okay, wait. Are we talking Trey Burke or Alec Burks?
Oh, I was talking Trey.
Oh, I was talking Alec.
Uh,
Oh.
my bad. Dang it, these Burks. Yeah. So Alec Brooks, I'm not interested.
Yeah, I'm not interested in his price point, which what I've been saying like for the last couple of minutes. But Trey Burke, okay, let's talk about Trey Burke. He's at 4K.
I was about to say, yeah, because you said that he had like 30-point ceiling. I was like, how does Trey Burke have a 30-point DK ceiling?
No. We're okay. We were
Okay.
like on different players. Okay.
Well, it's because they have the same freaking name.
Yeah, it's true.
This is their fault. It's not on us. All right, so Trey Burke.
Yeah, Trey Burke at 4K and on 4K on DK. Um,
Yeah, I was trying to figure out why you were thinking that Waiters was going to guard Trey Burke too. All right. Yeah, I was very confused. Okay.
or why I was citing all these wrong prices
Yeah.
on.
Well, I
Come
thought
on.
you were just talking
Come
about
on.
FanDuel, and I was like, why in the world is he 5'2" on FanDuel? I was like, that's ridiculous.
No, Burks is 5'2" on DK and then 5'4" on
Yeah.
Fan. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not on Trey Burke here.
No. Yeah, neither Burke for me.
So we
Uh,
went. We spent like 5 minutes on these guys for no reason.
just because we misunderstood each other. I hope you guys stopped watching 5 minutes ago. And that's it. So sorry for wasting the last 5 minutes of your life on this pod. Any last thoughts, Justin?
No, you want to run through the positions real quick?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that.
Point guard. Yes, we talked about it. Westbrook 12-3. Yeah, so the guys obviously that stand out to me is Kemba 6'9", Rubio 7'1", 7'6" for Reggie on DK.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Those are really like that kind of like mid, like not super stud, but kind of stud. Those are the only guys I'm super interested in.
Some cheap guys: Levine at 47, Lynn at 45,
Yeah.
Delhi at 45.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
Shooting guards, not great. At the top, we've talked about all those guys in the 4K range, which I think are all intriguing. But the top, we talked about Bledsoe, Oladipo, no. Wiggins potentially down with that move. Wade we liked at 6'8". But yeah, so I think we kind of go down to that 4K range with JR, Jeremy Lamb, Aflalo maybe. Kevin Martin down there. Yeah, you're right.
So I think this might be like, definitely. It looks like a time to go cheap in cash at shooting guard.
Yeah, agreed. Small forward. We were okay with LeBron because he's LeBron.
Like Kawhi at 8-2.
Yeah, I do too. We were on Boogie and Giannis, but didn't hate it. We like the correlation play with Batum. We liked Tobias at 6'3" too, I think. And Gordon at 6'2". I think those are kind of maybe the best values at that position, the 6'3", 6'2" for Harris and Hayward.
Yeah, and if you want to spend down some guys, Covington at 44.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I don't see anybody else.
I don't like anyone lower than that.
Okay.
Power forward.
Caspi at 47. If
Gates out, yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Power forward, we love Boogie. We love. Bosch, I like. He's an okay play at his price. Zingis is always fun. Tristan Thompson going down is must play cash.
Yeah.
And
that's about it.
Yeah. Agreed. And then center. Drummond's a little pricey at 9.7, but he's Drummond. He can go for 2020. I think we both agree that we love Whiteside here at 8.4.
Yeah, I like Whiteside at 8.4 more than Drummond at 9.7.
Yeah. And we love Towns.
Yeah, 72.
love, and then there's a bunch of guys that are interesting a little bit lower than that. We love Jefferson and Tim Duncan at 6'4" and 6'3", especially if Aldridge is out.
Yeah, agreed.
And I think it's we've talked about going dual centers on DraftKings. I think this is a really good slate to do that. You can go Whiteside Towns or Towns Jefferson. I think there's a lot of potential options to get centers because I think there's a lot of value in the center position for this slate. So something to think about for sure.
Agreed.
Cool. Good stuff. That's it for me. Any last thoughts? Are you good?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, it's the last time that people will get to see you before Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, Justin.
Happy Thanksgiving, Brian. Me and Jay will be on the Thanksgiving pod, our first
That's right.
together. So
That's right.
switch up the combinations a little bit here.
Yeah, your podcast virginity with each other.
No comment.
So I am going to be traveling on the holiday. So Jay and Justin are covering the pod on Thursday for the Friday slate. So obviously be watching out for that. But we'll still be we'll do a pod Tuesday, me and Jay for the Wednesday slate. So we still got you guys, obviously content, everything regular this week. So good luck. Thanks for listening / watching, and hopefully you guys do well tomorrow.
All right, thanks. Good luck, guys.